Hi everyone, it's Melissa from Welcome to the Woods. If you are just tuning into my channel, I'm in the middle of a huge bathroom remodel, and in the last video I did demolition down to the studs. Now I'm going to take that barren blank slate and turn it into this, a room with fresh drywall that is taped, mudded, and ready for its new finish. I'm going to give you all my tips and tricks along the way, but don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications bell if you want to see how this bathroom remodel turns out in the end. When I was opening up all these walls, I found some crumpled up newspaper behind the drywall. Check it out. Do you see the date on there? It says April of 1991. I was born in April of 1991. Coincidence? So the plumber rerouted my lines into the wall. He also replaced the copper piping for my drain and vent here. The plumber also gave me a shower, which I'm so happy about. It's gonna look so good. This piece is not in good shape, and so I'm just gonna add a good 2x4 on top of it, and this is going to reinforce those vertical studs and help support them, even though the base plate of the wall is kind of rotten and water damaged. I think that this is good enough. Ideally, I would have cut out all the rotted stud, but since I fixed the problem, it's not going to continue deteriorating. So I think this is going to be just fine. I'm going to close up this cavity from the medicine cabinet the same way. I'm adding a stud in here, and the Craig jig is the tool that allows me to create pocket holes and screw my screws in at an angle. This insulation is gross and it's totally wrecked because it went all the way up to here and I pulled it out from up there, and then this all got like ripped. Long story short, I'm gonna replace it. I'm gonna take this out. Important to wear gloves. I've made that mistake multiple times already in this house, but I did not wear gloves. Push it into there. It's not gonna hurt anything in there. This is my light, electrical, and I actually want to pull that out up here. Because I don't want a wall-mounted light, I'm going to do a hanging pendant. Okay, now I have to cut a new piece of insulation to go from here all the way up to there, and I'm going to staple it onto the studs. This is hard. Really hard. Inch by inch. Just trying really hard not to rip the paper. Staple it. Alright, I just finished insulation. Behind me, it went all the way up. It was actually really hard to get in, and then I have the ceiling done, and I did around the new bath fan install because they wrecked the insulation. And those are like actually exterior space studs, because back there is the attic above the kitchen ceiling actually. Okay, so then the only other insulation I have to do is on this exterior wall, but I have to wait to replace the window. So yeah, I think I'm done for the day. I'm gonna go home, hang out with my kids. So I'm gonna start hanging up my drywall, and I'm thinking that like this 4x8 sheet, I'm gonna mark 4 feet down from the top of the wall, and then I'm gonna actually screw in some 2x4s, little pieces, to set the piece of drywall on top of. I don't have to have somebody sitting there and just holding up the drywall for me then when I screw it in. I'll ask my husband just for a short help. I hate asking for help. To put the drywall up onto my little shelf that I create, and I'll be able to screw it in easily. I'm using an impact driver, so I don't pre-drill. An impact driver is way stronger, and it just expedites this screwing in random scrap wood. I don't have one of those tees that you use for cutting drywall straight, so I just marked the bottom and the top. I just pull this forward give it a little pat on the seam, and it busts nicely like that. Perfect. Wait a minute. I made a mistake. I drilled the holes as if this side was going to be put up onto the wall, but I needed to account for the fact that the green side of the drywall needs to be facing outward. So my holes need to be drilled opposite, with the shower hole being down here and this hole being there. Oh. Oh. Dang it.
You might not know this about me, but I have dozens of houseplants I love and care for. This is just some of my plants as I'm gathering them to do some repotting. You've seen them in nearly all of my room reveals, and plants are one of my favorite ways to decorate the home. I started using an app called Planta, and it's been amazing. Whether you're hopeless at keeping houseplants so they all shrivel and die, or you're like me, a happy houseplant mama to a variety of plant babies, Planta can help you be successful. It puts my plants on an intelligent care schedule that tracks when they need repotting, watering, fertilizing, and more. There's an excellent plant identification tool for those weird houseplants your sister gave you can't remember the name of. Planta can diagnose and solve all kinds of problems with your plants, from overwatering to not enough sunlight to those pesky gnats. The Dr. Planta tool can help you immensely. When I used it on my monstera that was too spindly and starting to yellow, it told me that my problem was simply not enough drainage. Discover on the app how your houseplants respond to your local climate, a light meter based on the species and time of year, and more. This is the perfect app for experienced houseplant lovers and those aspiring to care for that one aloe vera. Planta is free, but the premium version unlocks so much more. With my discount code WOODS14, you can get 14 days free trial of Planta Premium. Click the link in the description to check it out.
I'm back at the lake house today after a whole week off. I had to take a week off because I hurt my thumb. The bruising is down now, so I think I can get back to work, but it still hurts a bit. During my week off, I also dyed my hair. Did you notice? It's kind of a reddish brown now, and I've had the blonde in for several years. I just wanted to change. Now I'm feeling kind of behind in the bathroom remodel, and I really got to get this drywall busted out. Before I can put up the walls, I have to patch this ceiling. So I ran my new insulation. The electrician came and filled this guy. For me, it's going to be centered on the new vanity. And now I cut my ceiling board. Drywall that goes on the ceiling is thicker than the drywall on the wall. It's 5/8 inch instead of a 1/2 inch. I absolutely hate doing this over my head. It is so hard. I might need a second pair of hands, but we're gonna try it just moi. See if I can get her done. Oh my gosh. Seems like I need to shave a little bit off the edge. Oh man, that is heavy. I do not envy people who drywall for a living. Holy crap, your job is hard. I know they have things like lifts, but still. There we go. Okay, now we're gonna put this up there. Yeah, this is why I can't do these ones by myself.
Yep.
We got some framing to contend with.
Okay.
Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, the window jamb is
messing with you.
Yeah. I'm gonna measure and cut on this stud and install 2 pieces. Well, if I hadn't ended up cutting this, I can handle it by myself then. So,
okay.
Whatever. All done.
All done.
Okay, I cut my sheet in half. Let's see how we do. I'm thinking, since now it's just a 4x4 sheet, I can handle it myself, especially with my supports. Yes. Oh my God. Look at that, I got that sucker in. Thought for a second there, it wasn't gonna fit. I was like, definitely getting nervous for a second there. Oh, amazing. Flippin' amazing. I did that. Yeah, I can't imagine trying to get that whole 4x8 sheet up and fitting it over those holes for the shower faucet. That would have been really hard. Probably impossible, honestly. Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Boss. This is such a tight space to work. It's hard. It's definitely hard. I definitely gotta cut off more there. Oh my God, I just screwed into a pipe. Oh my God. That one. And when I try and back it out, I can hear water. I cut my drywall perfectly, but now I made a huge mistake. Please tell me I'm not alone in drilling through a water pipe. Have you ever nailed or screwed into a water pipe? It's already fixed. I called the plumber who did this for me, and he turned off all the water so we could back the screw out and it wouldn't continue gushing water inside the wall cavity. We pulled off the drywall and saw that the spot I screwed was on the stud, but the plumber forgot to put in a nail plate. So it was right here, and he had to cut out a piece of the stud to replace this pipe that I drilled through. And he just got that all patched up for me, and then he installed a nail plate, so it's not gonna happen again. Thankfully, since it was actually the plumber's fault, I didn't have to pay a dime to get it fixed. So I'm very relieved about that, and I feel better about my skills. For a second there, I just thought I was like, I don't know, didn't know how to use a tape measure or something. But now all the framing's wet, and I have to wait a few hours for it to dry out before I can pop up the drywall. In the meantime, I'm gonna work on building a little nook area. I want to do a recessed cavity next to the vanity in between the wall studs, and this is going to give me some storage around like where I'm not gonna have a medicine cabinet anymore above the vanity. Did you know that the perfect amount of glue squeeze out is the mark of a good carpenter? Just kidding. In order to put that little niche, however you say it, that little recessed area, shelf, in this cavity, I need some support lumber. Drilled some pocket holes in there, and these are gonna have my screws go down at an angle into the existing wall framing. Should be pretty straightforward, but I need to figure out where I want to place this guy. Beadboard up to 4 feet and then 3.5. So I could have this recessed area start just slightly above, which I think will look good. I think that'll be good. This is probably perfect, but I need to level it before I screw it in. Actually, I'm gonna screw in one side, then I'll check level. Nice and tight. I can't find my torpedo level, so I'm gonna use this little baby off my speed square. Holy moly, this board must be very warped. You know what I can do? I can see how the box fits in here and then level that. Oh, it goes like this because the stronger plywood is on the open side, and then the thinner plywood goes against the framing. This also allows me to not have issues with this wiring that's running behind. Like, that's why I didn't make it the whole width of the cavity. Number one, I thought that would look kind of weird, and I wanted a big enough piece of drywall here. Okay, so is this level? That is the question. That it's level that way, and it's not level that way. The back needs to come up slightly. I'm not gonna install this right away. I'm gonna cut the drywall, make sure this can slide in. Later on, I'll put a shelf here, like a shelf in between. Then I'll install it after the fact by like nailing it into this side and screwing it in down here. Make sense? All right, my drywall is slightly damaged, but we're gonna try this again. It's not unusable, and I wish that this whole thing hadn't happened, but it has, so. Now that the studs are dry, we're gonna put this back on and check it out. We're just gonna go higher. Oh God, I'm so nervous, like, oh my God. And now there's a nail plate there, so it should be fine, but, oh, okay. That's all fine and dandy now. Huzzah. Okay, there. Nice and tight. Wow, amazing. That seam looks amazing. Okay, I'm prying it from the corner. This is like some pro level work. And then I missed the stud. Oh my gosh. Yo, that's some pro level work, Melissa. Okay. It's important when you are screwing in drywall that your screws just barely go beneath the surface of the drywall. You don't want them sticking up above the drywall at all, but you don't want to sink them too deep that they don't hold. Today is day 3 drywalling, and I am so over it. I hate drywalling. I loathe drywalling, and every time I have to drywall, I tell myself I'm gonna hire it out, and then I end up doing it because it's expensive to hire it out. And I'm also a perfectionist, so I feel like the times I've given that job to a contractor, I've been disappointed. So this recessed niche, I'm gonna try and cut around. I'm gonna try and get this whole thing, like one piece. I asked my Instagram audience if they thought it looked weird it wasn't centered, because you know I have this beam support here, so I can't really center the recessed niche on that wall area. But 70% of people said that they liked it, and that's gonna look fine. And I can always patch it in later if I end up not liking it, like remove the shelf and then just patch the drywall. So we're gonna go with it. Do you like it? Well, do you know what? It didn't make sense for the pieces of drywall that I had left to do it all in one piece anyway. So lucky me, I don't have to try and lift that big sucker. I'm gonna do it in 2 pieces. This is my first one. We'll see if I cut the niche out appropriately. So far so good, but I need to cut this a little bit. And I'm gonna use my oscillating multi-tool for that. This thing is so handy. Oh my gosh, it is such a beautifully tight fit. All right, this is the last piece, at least until I get the window in order. So ready to be done with drywall. All right, now I'm mostly done with drywall except for this wall where the window is, because my special order window doesn't come in for another week. Now that I have all my screws in the drywall every like 8-ish inches, I'm going to start filling with joint compound. I call it mud if you're confused when I say it later. Don't really know why, but I prefer to use a trough instead of a hock. When you're able to put up a full sheet and have your straight edges butt up to each other like this, your drywall is actually tapered. And it helps you get flatter seam. Do you see that? And you know what? Now my mud is too thick, isn't it? I like to buy Easy Sand 90. The number on the package of mud tells you how long you have until your mud dries hard. So mine is 90 minutes. I would not recommend getting a 15 or 5 as a novice because your mud dries so fast and you don't have time to work with it. Now, the paper tape is the cheapest, but it's actually also the best for crack prevention. Just measure out what you need. Okay, cut it. And I always wet my tape. Just run it through a little bucket of water before you apply it to your joint compound. This is going to prevent the edges from bubbling up. This is a really good trick. And I used to hate using paper tape. I preferred, I don't know, the sticky mesh kind and whatnot, till I learned this trick. Really nice and flat. I just have a bucket of water here. Stick it right on there. And run your drywall knife over that. There's nothing worse than the day after you tape everything, you come back and see bubbled up edges on all your tape. You want just really nice and flat seams. That's the ideal. Corners like this really are not fun. I hate them. I have a special corner troweling tool for drywall I'm going to try and use, but I don't like using that either. It's hard to get the hang of. You got to press pretty hard. But first I'm just going to fill the seam with mud on both ends. You know, a lot of times when you're taping and mudding drywall, you'll be frustrated by something, and the solution is almost always just add more mud. Anytime I'm struggling, it could pretty much always be fixed by adding more mud. Now we're gonna take our tape, and the tape actually has like a perforation in the middle, like a seam, where you can fold it. You see that? That's gonna give me my 90-degree angle in the corner. It's like this. Oh, you know what? I forgot to wet my tape. Ah, shucks. I'm gonna still do that, even though it's gonna be kind of yucky now because it has drywall in it. But if I don't do that, it's gonna be hard for me to get this nice and flat, not bubbled up, as I mentioned earlier. Oh my gosh. Okay, I think I should just throw that away and cut new tape. Let's try that again. My paper tape is wet and creased. Put my trowel right up in there and press hard. That is looking real good, but it's best to do it in one sweeping motion. Now I just repeat that down and here and all the corners. Most visible areas in this bathroom are going to get 3 coats because I'm doing a flat wall, not a textured wall. If you're doing a textured wall, you could probably get away with only 2 and then apply texture and prime and paint. But this spot is going to be hidden behind my wall treatment, so it only has 2 coats over the tape. So I'm going to show you how to sand this without the big dusty mess. I'm using a big peanut sponge and I'm dampening it, and then I'm just going to move it in circles over the drywall, and it's going to kind of rub out any imperfections. Do you see these ridges here? So the wet sponge is going to take these down. It's actually best to do this before your drywall mud dries entirely, and it's also easier to get it to wear down with warm water instead of cold on the sponge. Once I've successfully sponge sand all my seams perfectly flat, Then it's ready for primer and paint. Super important that you prime fresh drywall and you don't just use a primer and paint in one, because you will likely still have flashing where the paint has a different sheen where the drywall mud is than the plain drywall board. So, well, that's all for this video. Don't forget to subscribe to Welcome to the Woods and click the notification bell to see the awesome wall treatment that's going to go on these walls once I'm done with the painting. I hope you learned a little bit about drywall, and if you did, you found it helpful, then go ahead and share this video. Thank you so much for watching Welcome to the Woods. We'll catch you again next time.